Break opposing alliances from the inside. A united front is the greatest threat to your power. So, the most efficient way to defeat a powerful alliance is not to attack it head-on with brute force. That's clumsy. The elegant solution is to dissolve it from within. You sow the seeds of discord, mistrust, and envy. And then you step back and watch as your enemies destroy each other for you. The psychology here is the exploitation of a fundamental truth. Every group is fragile. Any alliance is just a collection of individuals, each with their own ego, their own ambitions, and their own deep-seated insecurities. These are the fault lines. A small dose of paranoia, a well-placed rumor, or a calculated act of favoritism can crack the foundation and turn allies into bitter rivals. Imagine you're competing against a powerful duo in your company. Attacking them directly is foolish. It will only make them stronger. Instead, you use a more subtle approach. After a joint presentation, you publicly praise one partner for an idea they developed together, while subtly ignoring the other. John, that was a truly brilliant insight. You've just planted a tiny seed of envy in the other partner. Mark starts to wonder if John is secretly trying to take more credit. Then, you escalate. You might privately tell a third party, someone you know is a gossip, that you heard leadership thinks John is the real brains of the operation. You know this will get back to Mark. The poison begins to work. Joan and Mark, once an unstoppable team, are now consumed by suspicion and resentment. You have neutralized a major threat without ever launching a direct attack. To implement this, you must become a student of your rivals. Study their alliances. Identify the individuals. Who is the most ambitious, the most insecure, the most overlooked? Use praise to isolate one member. Use rumors to create paranoia. Force them to compete against each other for resources or recognition. Remember, a house divided against itself cannot stand. Let your enemies tear down their own house for you. If you're finding this guide to the arena valuable, and if you are committed to mastering the dynamics of influence, take a moment now to subscribe. This is more than just a video series. It is an arsenal of psychological tools. By subscribing, you ensure that you will not miss the advanced strategies that are still to come. Now, let us proceed. The next set of tactics will take you even deeper into the mind of the master strategist. Tactic 11 is a potent form of psychological warfare. Reflect their insecurities back at them. Every single person, no matter how powerful or composed they appear, is driven by hidden insecurities. These are their emotional weak points, their Achilles heel. The master of influence learns to identify these vulnerabilities, not to heal them, but to use them to provoke irrational, self-defeating decisions in their opponents. The psychology is rooted in our own ego defense mechanisms. When a person's deepest insecurities are triggered, their logical, rational brain shuts down. They go into fight-or-flight mode. Someone who is deeply insecure about their intelligence will become overly defensive and aggressive the moment their ideas are questioned, even gently. Someone insecure about their social status will overreact wildly to any perceived slight or sign of disrespect. Their emotional reaction is the trap you set for them. Think of a negotiation with an arrogant, aggressive opponent. Often, that aggression is just a mask for a deep-seated insecurity about not being respected. Instead of matching their aggression, you remain calm, almost dismissive. When they make a loud, forceful demand, you might respond with nothing more than a subtle, condescending smile. You aren't attacking their argument, you are attacking their ego. Provoked and flustered, they will become louder, more irrational, and more desperate to prove themselves, making concessions they never would have made in a calm, logical state of mind. To use this, you must become a master observer of human nature. Listen carefully to what people complain about most often. Pay attention to what they constantly boast about. It is almost always the very quality they feel they lack. Once you identify an insecurity, you do not point it out directly. That's amateurish. Instead, you create situations that subtly trigger it. If someone is deeply insecure about their loyalty, you might test them with a small, inconsequential secret just to watch them squirm. Your goal is to make them feel the sting of their own insecurity without them ever realizing that you are the one causing the pain. Their own mind becomes your most effective weapon against them. These tactics, manufacturing loyalty, breaking alliances, and weaponizing insecurities, are the architecture of covert power. They are complex and require a deep understanding of human psychology. Use them wisely. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the final chapters in this dark series. Until next time, as we're diving deep into more tactics that fundamentally alter the dynamics of power. These aren't just abstract theories. They are practical tools for navigating the complex social landscapes of our lives. If you've ever felt like you're playing checkers while everyone else is playing chess, this is for you. Let's begin with a rule that will protect your reputation and your power base. Tactic number 12 is a cardinal rule for self-preservation. Never be the one holding the knife. To maintain any position of authority, you will eventually have to make difficult, even ruthless, decisions. It's an unavoidable part of leadership. However, the person who delivers the final blow, the one who communicates the bad news, almost always becomes the target of resentment. The great political strategist Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He advised that a wise prince should delegate all unpleasant and negative tasks to others, while personally handling all the positive ones, like giving out rewards and recognition. This simple move allows you to reap the benefits of a necessary but harsh decision without suffering the hatred that comes with it. The psychology behind this is called blame attribution. When people experience something negative, like losing a job or having a project canceled, their brains immediately search for someone to blame. They need a target for their anger and frustration. By creating a clear distance between yourself and the negative action, you effectively keep your hands clean in the eyes of others. Let's look at a modern example. Imagine a CEO who needs to implement massive layoffs to keep the company afloat. A clumsy, amateur leader might call an all-hands meeting and announce the news themselves. In that moment, they become the villain, the heartless executive who destroyed people's livelihoods. They will be remembered for the pain they caused, no matter how necessary the decision was. Now, consider how a Machiavellian leader handles the same situation. They don't make the announcement. Instead, they delegate the task to the head of human resources, or even better, an external restructuring consultant hired specifically for this purpose. This person or department becomes the public face of the layoffs. They conduct the meetings, they answer the angry questions, and they absorb all the hatred and resentment. The CEO remains in the background, seemingly above the fray. Once the dirty work is done, the CEO can take it a step further. They might even publicly fire the consultant, framing it as a symbolic act of cleansing the company of the negative energy and holding someone accountable for the painful process. After this, the CEO can emerge as the compassionate, forward-thinking leader. They can give speeches about rebuilding, about taking care of the remaining team, and about the bright future ahead. They get the benefit of a leaner company without the stain of having personally wielded the axe. To apply this tactic in your own life, you must be strategic. Whenever a necessary but unpopular action must be taken, find a scapegoat or a cat's paw. Let someone else be the bearer of bad news. This could be a designated person, a committee, or even a set of impersonal company policies. You can then position yourself as the reasonable mediator, the person who comes in to clean up the mess and offer solutions afterwards. This preserves your goodwill and social capital. Remember, true power isn't just about having the strength to make hard decisions. It's about having the intelligence to survive them with your reputation intact. Now, let's move on to our next tactic. A powerful method for extracting information without ever asking for it. Tactic 13 is a more advanced application of the idea that less is more. It is, say nothing, and let them reveal everything. This isn't about being passively quiet. This is about using silence as an active, strategic tool of interrogation. Often, the most revealing truths And the most damaging admissions come not from a direct question, but from the unnerving vacuum created by a question that is never asked. Strategic, uncomfortable silence has a unique power to compel people to fill the void, and in doing so, expose their deepest thoughts, plans, and secrets. The psychological principle at play here is what some call an abhorrence of the vacuum. A prolonged, unnatural silence in a one-on-one conversation feels like a social rupture, a break in the fabric of normal interaction. It creates immense psychological tension. To resolve this deeply uncomfortable feeling, the other person will almost always feel an overwhelming compulsion to start talking. They'll elaborate on their previous point. They'll start to justify their actions, and they will reveal far, far more than they ever would have to a direct line of questioning. Picture this scenario. You suspect a team member of not being entirely truthful about a failed project. You call them into your office. You don't accuse them of anything. You simply ask a single, open-ended question. Walk me through what happened. They give you their rehearsed, polished answer. After they finish, you do nothing. You say nothing. You just look at them, maintaining calm, steady eye contact. 1 second passes, 2, 5. The silence stretches and becomes heavy in the room. The employee becomes visibly nervous. Their mind is racing, trying to figure out what you know. They start to ramble. I mean, it wasn't just me. It was really John's part of the project that caused the initial delay. And you know, I was also feeling a bit unwell that week, which didn't help. They begin to add details, point fingers, and contradict their own carefully constructed story, all without you having to ask another single question. They have interrogated themselves on your behalf. To use this tactic effectively, you must cultivate immense self-control. It goes against every social instinct we have. After you ask your initial, simple, open-ended question, you must commit to the silence. Resist the urge to nod, to say unhung, or to fill the quiet. Let them squirm. Let their own anxious mind do the heavy lifting of interrogation for you. In the high-stakes game of information, the person who feels compelled to speak first loses. This leads us to our final and perhaps most dynamic tactic for today. It's about using chaos as a precision instrument. Tactic number 14 is be unpredictable, but only when it matters. Predictability is a tremendous weakness. If your friends, colleagues, and adversaries know exactly how you will react in any given situation, they can easily control and manipulate you. They can tailor their actions to produce your expected response. However, a pattern of calculated, deliberate unpredictability at critical moments can keep your rivals perpetually off balance, guessing, and even terrified. The psychology here is rooted in the human brain's fundamental need for patterns. We are pattern recognition machines. When you establish a pattern and then suddenly shatter it without warning, it induces a state of confusion, anxiety, and fear in your opponent. They are forced to discard all their previous assumptions about you. They have to stop and reevaluate everything. And this moment of chaos is your window of opportunity to strike. Think of a chess grandmaster. For most of the game, they play logical, predictable moves that follow established theories. They build a solid foundation. Their opponent gets comfortable, anticipating the flow of the game. Then, at a crucial game-defining moment, the grandmaster makes a completely unexpected, seemingly irrational move, sacrificing a powerful piece for no obvious reason. The opponent is stunned. Their entire strategy, which was based on the grandmaster's predictable play, is now useless. They are mentally reeling from the shock, trying to understand the new reality of the board. And it is in this moment of confusion that the grandmaster launches their true, hidden attack. Now, the key to this entire tactic lies in those 4 words, only when it matters. If you are constantly erratic and unpredictable, people won't see you as a master strategist. They will simply dismiss you as unstable, unreliable, and not worth taking seriously. Your power will diminish. Therefore, You must first establish a baseline of calm, rational, and consistent behavior. This is your camouflage. It lulls people into a sense of security around you. They think they have you figured out. Then, at a key strategic moment perhaps, during a major negotiation, in the middle of a crisis, or right when you sense an opponent is about to make a move against you, you do something completely out of character. You might make an unexpectedly generous offer when they expect you to be tough. You might fly into a calculated, theatrical rage when they expect you to be calm. The move should be designed to create the maximum amount of confusion and psychological disruption. Your unpredictability should be a surgical strike, not a wild, indiscriminate barrage. It is the sudden storm from a clear blue sky that causes the most panic. These three tactics: delegating blame, wielding silence, and using strategic chaos are advanced tools. They require discipline, emotional control, and a deep understanding of human psychology. Use them wisely. If you found this valuable, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the mechanics of power. Until next time, tactic is the ultimate form of influence. Make your presence felt, even in your absence. Direct power is limited. It requires you to be physically present, constantly asserting your will. The highest form of power, however, is indirect and systemic. It's the ability to influence others, even when you're not in the room. This is achieved by building a reputation so formidable that people act according to your will, almost out of habit. Psychologically, this is about making others internalize your authority. When a leader's influence is profound, their followers internalize their voice. They start asking themselves, what would they do in this situation? Your reputation becomes a ghost that haunts their decisions. Steve Jobs was a master of this. Even after his death, Apple employees reportedly made decisions by asking, what would Steve have done? His impossibly high standards were so deeply embedded in the company's culture that his presence was felt in every product meeting. He had become a system, not just a man. To achieve this, you must first build a powerful, unwavering reputation. Second, create systems or processes that automatically reflect your will. These systems guide behavior even when you are not there to enforce them. Finally, you must occasionally make dramatic, public examples of those who violate your standards. The memory of that punishment will enforce your will far more effectively than your constant presence ever could. Your ultimate goal is to transcend your physical self and is about mastering intimidation. Never threaten. Let fear do the work. Explicit threats are a glaring sign of weakness. They are the clumsy tool of the desperate. A direct threat gives your opponent a clear target to react to defend against, or to rally support against. The true master of power never needs to voice a threat. Instead, they imply consequences. They create an atmosphere of ambiguity and dread that allows their target's own imagination to do the heavy lifting. The psychological power of an implied threat is far greater than an explicit one. When you threaten someone, you define the stakes. But when you only imply a threat, their mind will conjure consequences far worse than anything you could have described. The unknown is always more terrifying. Consider a powerful executive who discovers a subordinate is being A crude approach is to threaten to fire them. A much more sophisticated approach is to call them into their office and, in a very calm tone, tell a story about a former employee who showed poor judgment and whose career mysteriously stalled. Then, they look at the subordinate and say, it's a small industry. Reputation is everything. No direct threat was made, but the message is crystal clear. The fear generated by these unanswered questions will be a far more powerful motivator than a simple threat to get fired. To apply these, speak in suggestions and parables. Let your reputation for decisive action precede you, and let past examples serve as a quiet warning. Your opponents should be deterred not by your words, but by the chilling stories they have heard about what happens to those who cross you. Tactic requires ultimate emotional discipline. Delay your revenge until it becomes truly devastating. When you are wronged, the immediate instinct is to strike back. This is almost always a strategic blunder. Revenge served hot is often clumsy, emotional, and ineffective. True strategic wisdom dictates that revenge is a dish best served cold. It should be plotted and executed with cold, calculating patience for maximum and ruinous impact. The psychology here is about separating emotion from execution. By waiting, you allow your initial anger to subside, which enables you to think strategically instead of reacting emotionally. More importantly, time lulls your enemy into a false sense of security. They forget their transgression, or they assume you've forgotten. When your strike finally comes, it is a complete and total surprise. Imagine a colleague who sabotages your project. You restrain yourself. You say nothing. You wait. Months pass. That colleague gets promoted to lead a critical, high-profile project. They are overconfident, basking in their success. This is the moment. You anonymously leak irrefutable evidence of their past sabotage. The blow is devastating. It doesn't just expose their past misdeed, it destroys their current project, their reputation, and their career. Had you acted immediately, they might have gotten a slap on the wrist. By waiting, you ensured their complete ruin. To practice this, you must develop a long-term mindset. When someone harms you, see it as a debt to be collected at a future date. With interest, file it away. Observe your enemy. Be they your time. The perfect moment to strike is always when they have the most to lose and least expect it. Finally, tact is about creating enduring power. Become a system, not just a person. Personal charisma and individual brilliance are fragile. They are tied directly to you. They head sick, they get old, and eventually, they die. The most enduring form of power is institutionalized. It is embedded in systems, processes, and cultures that operate independently of you. To create a true legacy, you must move from being a player in the game to being the game itself. The psychology of systemic power is that it harnesses the incredible force of inertia. People follow systems because it is the path of least resistance. It becomes just the way things are done around here. A founder who relies on their magnetic personality will find their company falters the moment they step away. But a founder who creates a strong corporate culture and a detailed operational playbook has built a machine that will continue to run long after they are gone. Their principles are embedded in the very DNA of the organization. Their power has become systemic, outliving their personal involvement. To apply, to stop thinking only about what you can do, and start thinking about what you can build. Create robust processes, document your knowledge, and foster a culture that reflects your core values. Don't just be the star player. Create the training program that produces a dozen more stars. You want people to follow your path, not because you are there to command them, but because the path itself is the only logical one to follow. Don't just be the king. Build the kingdom. These 4 tactics making your presence felt in your absence, letting fear do the work, delaying revenge, and becoming a system are advanced strategies for those serious about power. They require patience, discipline, and a long-term perspective. Master them, and your influence will become both profound and permanent. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights into the art of power. Tacting is a brutal but necessary principle. Cut off weakness without mercy. Machiavelli observed that infections in a state, if not treated quickly, can destroy the entire body. The same is true for any organization. A weak link, a disloyal ally, or an underperforming team member is a contagion. Their incompetence can spread, and their negativity can lower morale. A powerful leader understands that sentimentality towards weakness is a luxury they cannot afford. The psychology behind this is what's known as the rotten apple effect. A single negative member can bring down the performance of the entire team. By tolerating weakness, you send a message that mediocrity is acceptable. But pruning weakness sends a powerful message that excellence is the only standard. Imagine a manager leading a team burdened by one lazy member. The rest of the team has to work harder to cover for them. A sentimental manager might offer second and third chances. A Machiavellian manager recognizes this weakness is poison. After one fair warning, they act decisively. They remove the immediate effect is a dramatic increase in team morale. The act of cutting off the weak link has strengthened the entire chain. To apply this, you must be ruthless in your pursuit of efficiency. Remove underperforming members from your team. End partnerships with unreliable allies. Distance yourself from people who drain your energy. You may be accused of being cold, but, as Machiavelli would argue, it is better to be cruel once than to be kind, and allow that kindness to lead to a greater disorder that harms everyone, which is all about cultivating a powerful aura of mystery. Always leave them guessing. To be completely understood is to be completely disarmed. If people know your motivations and your next moves, they can counter you. By maintaining an aura of mystery, you keep them perpetually off balance. Your ambiguity is a form of power. The psychology is that mystery creates intrigue and forces others to expend mental energy trying to figure you out. This focus on you enhances your perceived power. Consider a master negotiator. Their opponents cannot tell what drives them. Their opening offer might be low, but then they make a generous concession on a minor point. Their tone is friendly, but their eyes are cold. Because their true intentions are concealed, the other side cannot form a confident strategy. They are forced to react. The negotiator's mystery keeps them in control. To cultivate this aura, do not reveal your full strategy. Let your actions sometimes appear contradictory. Be friendly with your rivals. Be tough on your allies. Resist the urge to share your every thought. The less people know about your true self, the more they will be forced to deal with the persona you present. Let them speculate. Their confusion is a testament to your power. A figure shrouded in mist appears larger and more formidable than one standing in the clear light of day. And now, for the final and most formidable power tactic. Make them afraid to even speak your name in defiance. This is the pinnacle of reputation. It is not about being a tyrant who inspires overt terror. It is about building a reputation so powerful, so synonymous with victory and consequence, that others fear crossing you even in private conversation. Your influence becomes so absolute that potential rivals self-set. The very idea of challenging you seems futile and dangerous. The psychology behind this is the creation of a myth. Your reputation transcends your physical actions and becomes a force of nature. People's fear is not of you, the person, but of the legend you have become. They have heard the stories, the careers that were quietly ended, the competitors that mysteriously failed. Whether the stories are all true is irrelevant. The perception of your absolute power is what enforces the reality of it. When your name is mentioned, it should silence the room. Your reputation becomes an invisible fortress that preemptively neutralizes threats before they can materialize. Building this reputation is the work of a lifetime. It requires the consistent and ruthless application of many of these tactics. You must be successful, and your successes decisive. You must punish betrayal swiftly and memorably. You must cultivate mystery. You must become a system. When you achieve this level, you no longer have to constantly fight for your position. Your power becomes People will clear a path for you, not because you demand it, but because they wouldn't dare to be in your way. So, we have journeyed through 21 of Niccolo Machiavelli's most potent power tactics. My journey from the overlooked nice guy to a position of real influence wasn't about becoming a bad person. I just stopped playing by a set of rules the rest of the world ignores. The lesson of Machiavelli is not to become a monster. It is to understand that in the game of power, monsters exist. This knowledge is not a sword to manipulate the innocent, but a shield to protect your value from a world that isn't always fair. It is a light that exposes the hidden mechanics of influence, allowing you to navigate the arena with awareness and agency. You have been shown the playbook. You now see the strings of power. The question is, will you be the puppet or will you be the one who pulls? If this story resonated with you and you want to keep exploring the real mechanics of power, subscribe to the channel. We don't deal in comforting lies here. We deal in what works. To continue mastering these principles, consider reading the masterwork of modern strategy, Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. Also, be sure to click the notification bell so you don't miss our next video, where we'll delve into the psychological tactics of resisting manipulation. Finally, leave a comment below with a tactic that you've seen play out in your own life. Join the conversation with a community dedicated to the art of power.